While I was on a Black Ops mission, my mother sold my vintage Mustang and gave the money to my struggling brother who never served. The phone call came at 2 a.m., 3 weeks into a classified operation. I was stationed in a remote outpost that technically didn't exist on any map. My team had been tracking a high-value target across hostile territory. "Marcus, I need to tell you something." My mother's voice cracked through the spotty satellite connection. "It's about your grandfather's Mustang." My stomach dropped. That 1,967 Mustang Fastback was my most prized possession. I'd spent 2 years restoring it with my grandfather before he passed. "I sold it," she blurted out. "Your brother Devin needed help." I gripped the phone tighter. The car was worth far more than just money to me. Every weekend for 2 years, Grandpa and I had worked on that car in his Detroit garage. "He's 3 months behind on rent," she continued. "They were going to evict him and the kids. He couldn't even keep the lights on." I remained silent. Devin had never served a day in his life. He'd always found ways to get others to solve his problems. "I got $35,000 for it," my mother said. "I know how much you loved that car, but family comes first. Devin has children to feed." I had spent over $15,000 of my own money on parts alone. The emotional value was incalculable. My grandfather had taught me everything about cars while working on that Mustang. "Did you even try to call me first?" I finally asked. My voice was dangerously calm. "There wasn't time," she insisted. "The eviction was scheduled for next week. The buyer wanted an answer right away." I knew she was lying. Satellite phones were difficult, but not impossible. She hadn't tried to reach me because she knew what my answer would be. "I have to go," I said flatly. The mission required my full attention, and I couldn't afford to lose focus over personal matters. "Marcus, please understand," she pleaded. "Devin really needed this money." I ended the call without responding. The rage building inside me needed to be contained. We were still 48 hours from mission completion. Roman, my commanding officer, noticed something was wrong immediately. He'd been leading our team for 5 years and could read all of us like books. "Everything okay at home?" he asked during our pre-dawn equipment check. "Family issues," I replied tersely. "Nothing that can't wait until we're done here." Roman nodded. He didn't press for details. "Keep your head in the game. We move in 6 hours." The next 2 days were a blur of precision movements and tactical decisions. I channeled my anger into focus, becoming even more methodical than usual. We completed the mission successfully. The target was acquired, intelligence was gathered, and all team members returned without injury. On the surface, I was the consummate professional. After debriefing, Roman pulled me aside. "Whatever's going on, you handled it well out there. Need to talk about it?" I hesitated. "My mother sold my car while I was deployed. Gave the money to my brother who's supposedly in financial trouble." Roman whistled low. "The 67 Fastback? The one you restored with your grandfather?" I nodded. The fact that he remembered the car from conversations months ago showed why he was such an effective leader. "I need some emergency leave," I said. "Something doesn't add up about my brother's situation." Roman studied my face for a moment. "How long?" 2 weeks should be enough to sort this out," I replied. He nodded and clapped my shoulder. "Consider it approved. The team can handle the next phase without you." I started packing immediately. It would take several days to process out and return stateside. The entire time, my mind kept returning to the Mustang. That car represented more than metal and rubber. It was every Saturday morning spent with my grandfather. It was the legacy he'd left me when he passed. I was going home to discover the truth about what happened to my car, and why my brother suddenly needed $35,000 so desperately that my mother would betray me to help him. 6 weeks would pass before I could confront Devin face to face. 6 weeks of simmering anger and growing suspicion. Something wasn't right about this situation. I completed my mission with perfect professionalism, but now I had a new mission: find out what really happened to my grandfather's Mustang, and why my brother needed that money so badly. I landed stateside 6 weeks after that phone call. The military transport took me to an airbase in Virginia. From there, I rented a car and drove straight to Devin's apartment complex. My mother had described it as a rough neighborhood. She claimed he was struggling to make rent in a rundown building. What I found was completely different. Devin's address led me to a well-maintained 3-bedroom townhouse in a decent middle-class area. The rent had to be at least $2,500 a month based on similar properties I'd checked online. I parked across the street and waited. It was mid-afternoon when I spotted a brand new Ford F-150 pull into the driveway. Devin stepped out wearing designer sunglasses and carrying shopping bags from high-end stores. I was furious. This didn't match the desperate situation my mother had described at all. An older woman was watering plants on the neighboring porch. I approached her casually and introduced myself as Devin's brother. "Oh, you must be the military one," she said. "I'm Tamika. Your brother talks about you sometimes." I kept my tone neutral. "Nice neighborhood. Has Devin lived here long?" Tamika nodded. "About 2 years now. He's always been a good neighbor, though he's gone a lot lately. Just bought that new truck last month." My jaw tightened. "Seems to be doing well for himself." "Oh yes," Tamika continued. "He took his kids camping last weekend. Had all this fancy new gear. Said he was finally able to live the life he deserved or something like that." I thanked her and walked back to my rental car. The pieces weren't adding up. Devin was supposedly facing eviction, but had just bought a new truck worth at least $45,000. I pulled up Devin's social media accounts on my phone. His Instagram showed photos of expensive restaurants, new clothes, and weekend trips, all posted within the past month. The next morning, I returned to Devin's place. He was gone, but parked in the driveway beside his truck was something new: a Harley Davidson with temporary tags. The motorcycle had to cost at least $15,000. I took photos of both vehicles. The evidence was clear. Devin wasn't struggling financially. He was spending money like he'd hit the lottery. I called my mother that evening. I saw Devin's place today, I said. It's not what you described. She sounded defensive. He must have found a good job recently. Things change. In 6 weeks? I asked. He went from eviction to buying a new truck and motorcycle? My mother was quiet for a moment. I don't know his business. He said he needed help, and I believed him. I ended the call without pushing further. Something was seriously wrong with this situation. I needed more information. I contacted Corinne, Devin's ex-wife, the next day. We met at a coffee shop near her workplace. I was surprised to hear from you, she said. Devin mentioned you were overseas. I nodded. Just got back. Mom said Devin was having money problems, but that doesn't match what I'm seeing. Corinne laughed. Money problems? He's been sending regular child support payments for over a year, never missed once. This contradicted everything my mother had told me. What about recently? Any changes in the past month? Actually, yes, Corinne said. He bought the kids all these expensive gifts, new phones, designer clothes. He even took them to Disney World for a week. I felt a cold certainty settling in my gut. When exactly did this spending spree start? About 5 weeks ago, she replied, right after he called to tell me about some big opportunity that came through. 5 weeks ago. Right after my mother sold my car. I thanked Corinne and left. That night, I called Fallon. She was an intelligence analyst I'd worked with on several operations. If anyone could help me dig deeper, it was her. I need a favor, I said. Off the books. Fallon didn't hesitate. What do you need? Financial records for my brother. Bank statements, credit history, anything you can find. She agreed to help. 3 days later, she sent me an encrypted file. What I found confirmed my suspicions. Devin had been making regular cash deposits for months, small amounts, never enough to trigger automatic reporting. But in the 5 weeks since my mother sold my car, the pattern changed. There was a single deposit of $35,000, the exact amount from my Mustang, then multiple withdrawals for the truck, motorcycle, and other purchases. But what really caught my attention were the subsequent deposits. Large amounts of cash, broken into smaller transactions, classic money laundering behavior. I stared at the screen, the truth becoming clear. Devin hadn't needed my car money for rent or bills. He needed it for something else entirely. My brother was involved in something illegal, and my mother had sacrificed my grandfather's Mustang to fund it. I closed the laptop and made a decision. I wasn't just going to confront Devin. I was going to find out exactly what he was doing with that money. The next step was surveillance. I needed to know where Devin went, who he met with, and what he was really doing for income. My grandfather's car was gone, but I was going to make damn sure I discovered the truth about why. I decided to follow Devin that night. His social media showed he'd be at Brixton's Bar, a place on the edge of town known for its private back room. I parked across the street and waited. Around midnight, Devin pulled up in his new F-150. He wasn't alone. 3 men followed him inside, including one I recognized from his Instagram as Wesley. They carried small duffel bags. I gave them 15 minutes before entering. The main bar was crowded with weekend drinkers. Devin and his crew were nowhere to be seen. The bartender pointed me toward the restrooms. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed a door marked private, slightly ajar. Voices drifted out. The $35,000 buy-in was just the start, Devin was saying. We've already doubled it in 3 weeks. I pulled out my phone and started recording. The conversation continued for nearly an hour. They discussed cleaning money through a fake construction business and expanding operations. Wesley mentioned bringing in more product next month. Devin bragged about having the perfect setup now that he had proper funding. I'd heard enough. I slipped out and drove straight to the police station. The desk sergeant recognized me immediately. Marcus? Been a while. You're back from overseas? I nodded. Need to talk to Reggie. It's important. Detective Reggie Daniels had been my friend since high school. He specialized in narcotics and organized crime. If anyone could help, it was him. Reggie met me in an interview room 20 minutes later. I played him the recording and explained everything I'd discovered about Devin's sudden wealth. I've had my eye on Wesley for months, Reggie said. He's running a mid-level distribution network. Looks like your brother bought his way in. I felt sick. With my car money. Reggie nodded. The $35,000 was probably his buy-in. Drug operations often require capital investment from new partners. Can you do anything? I asked. This recording helps, but we need more. We need to catch them with product or during a transaction. I didn't hesitate. I'll help, whatever you need. Over the next 3 days, I worked with Reggie. We set up surveillance on Devin's townhouse and tracked his movements. His pattern became clear quickly. He made regular trips to a storage facility outside town. We observed him meeting different people there, always with the same duffel bags. Reggie obtained a warrant based on our evidence. We're moving tomorrow, he told me. They're planning something big at the warehouse. I couldn't sleep that night. My brother had used my grandfather's legacy to fund a drug operation. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. The next morning, I drove to my mother's house. She needed to know the truth before everything exploded. She seemed surprised to see me. Marcus? I thought you were still overseas. I've been back for over a week, I replied. I've been watching Devin. Her expression changed immediately. What are you talking about? I laid out everything. The townhouse, the truck, the Harley, the meetings at Brixton's, and the storage facility. I showed her photos and played part of the recording. He's laundering drug money, I said, and he used the $35,000 from my car to buy into the operation. My mother collapsed into a chair. Her face went pale. I didn't know, she whispered. Then she paused. Not exactly. What does that mean? I demanded. She looked away. I knew something wasn't right. He always had cash but no real job. When he showed me the eviction notice, I was suspicious. But you sold my car anyway, I said. The anger in my voice was unmistakable. He's my son too, she said weakly. He said he needed one chance to turn things around. I stood up. Well, he's about to get caught turning things around. The police are moving in today. My phone buzzed with a text from Reggie. It's happening now. Meeting at the warehouse. We're moving in 30. I left my mother crying in her living room. I had somewhere to be. The warehouse was in an industrial park 10 miles outside town. I met Reggie and his team at the staging area. They were gearing up for the raid. Stay in the car, Reggie instructed. This is official police business now. I watched from a distance as the police team surrounded the warehouse. Through binoculars, I could see Devin's truck parked outside along with several other vehicles. The raid happened fast. Police stormed the building from all sides. Within minutes, they were leading people out in handcuffs. Devin was among them, looking shocked and terrified. Reggie came to my car afterward. We got them. Nearly $200,000 in cash, plus product. Your brother was right in the middle of it all. I felt no satisfaction, just emptiness. What happens now? Multiple felony charges, money laundering, drug distribution, criminal conspiracy. He's looking at serious time. I nodded. The Mustang was gone forever, but at least I knew the truth now. My brother had betrayed not just me, but our entire family. Reggie put his hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing. This operation was growing fast. They were bringing in dangerous people. As they loaded Devin into a police transport, our eyes met briefly. There was no remorse in his expression, just anger at being caught. My grandfather's Mustang had been sacrificed for nothing. The car that represented family, legacy, and trust had funded a criminal enterprise. I drove back to my hotel room alone. Tomorrow I would face my mother again. Tomorrow I would begin to process everything that had happened. But tonight, I just sat in silence, wondering how my family had fallen so far apart, and if there was any way to put the pieces back together. I visited Devin at the county jail 3 days after the raid. The processing officer led me to a dingy visitation room with scratched plexiglass dividers. I sat and waited. Devin shuffled in wearing an orange jumpsuit. His eyes widened when he saw me. He looked terrible. You set me up, he said immediately. His voice was flat, defeated. I shook my head. You set yourself up. I just made sure you got caught. Devin slumped in his chair. The cocky attitude I'd seen at the warehouse was gone. Reality had finally caught up with him. They're charging me with multiple felonies, he said. Money laundering, drug distribution, criminal enterprise. I'm looking at 15 years minimum. I felt no sympathy. You used my car money to fund a drug operation. What did you expect would happen? Devin stared at the table between us. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was just trying to get ahead. By selling drugs? I asked. He looked up. It started with gambling. I got in deep with some dangerous people. Owed nearly $20,000 I couldn't pay back. This was new information. So you convinced Mom to sell my car to save your ass. I needed the $35,000 to pay off my debt and buy into Wesley's operation. It was my only way out. I leaned forward. You lied to Mom about being evicted. You showed her fake notices. Devin nodded. I was desperate. These guys were threatening my kids, Marcus. What would you have done? Not sold drugs, I replied immediately. Not betrayed my family. The conversation ended shortly after. Devin had nothing else to offer except excuses. I left the jail feeling empty. Reggie called me that afternoon. We found something you should know about. Your mother's house has a second mortgage on it. My stomach dropped. When was it taken out? 3 months ago. For $20,000. Everything clicked into place. Devin had already convinced our mother to mortgage her house to help with his gambling debts, but it wasn't enough. I drove straight to my mother's house. She opened the door looking 10 years older than when I'd last seen her. You mortgaged the house for him, I said without preamble, before the car. She nodded slowly. He said they would hurt him if he didn't pay. I believed him. I followed her inside. The house was a mess. Bills scattered across the kitchen table. She'd been crying. I didn't know about the drugs, she insisted. I thought he was just in trouble with loan sharks. I picked up one of the mortgage statements. The monthly payment was nearly double what she could afford on her retirement income. He played us both, I said. He used your fear for him and my absence to get what he wanted. My mother broke down. I'm so sorry about your car, Marcus. I'll sell this house to pay you back. I shook my head. The car is gone. Reggie says they already stripped it for parts. She sobbed harder. I felt my anger softening. She had been manipulated by Devin just as much as I had. Reggie called again the next morning. We found some parts from your Mustang at a chop shop across town. Engine block, some body panels, the original seats. I met him at the impound lot that afternoon. The parts were laid out on a blue tarp, just fragments of my grandfather's legacy. It's not much, Reggie said, but it's something. I ran my hand over the engine block. My grandfather had taught me how to rebuild this exact engine. The memories came flooding back. Thanks for this, I told Reggie. It means more than you know. Over the next week, I helped my mother sort out her finances. I paid off some immediate bills and worked with her bank to restructure the mortgage. I don't deserve your help, she said one evening. Not after what I did, I sighed. You're still my mother, but we need to establish some boundaries when it comes to Devin. She nodded. I enabled him for too long. I see that now. The following weekend, I visited my grandfather's grave. I hadn't been there since his funeral 5 years ago. The headstone was weathered, but well maintained. I sat on the grass beside the grave. Hey, Grandpa. I lost the Mustang. I'm sorry. The wind rustled through nearby trees. I told him everything that had happened. It felt good to talk it out, even if he couldn't respond. The car was just metal and rubber, I said finally. What matters is what you taught me while we worked on it. I left the cemetery feeling lighter. The next day, I visited a classic car dealer on the outskirts of town. A 1965 Mustang project car sat in the back lot. It was nothing special. Faded paint, mismatched parts, and a seized engine, but it had potential. How much? I asked the owner. 5,000. It needs everything. I wrote him a check on the spot. The car would never replace my grandfather's fastback, but it would give me something to work on, something to heal with. I had the car towed to a storage unit near my mother's house. I set up a small workshop with basic tools and started the teardown process. My mother visited me there a few days later. Another Mustang? She asked. I nodded. Different year, different car, but it needs someone to care about it. She watched me work for a while. Will you ever forgive me? She asked finally. I put down my wrench. I already have, but things will be different now. Devin pled guilty to reduced charges the following month. He received 8 years with possibility of parole after 5. I didn't attend the sentencing. Instead, I spent that day installing the original seats from my grandfather's car into the new project. They didn't quite fit, but I made it work. Some pieces of the past were worth saving. Others needed to be left behind. I returned to active duty 3 weeks later. My team welcomed me back without questions. Roman simply nodded when I reported for duty. Family situation resolved? He asked. As much as it can be, I replied. The new Mustang would be waiting when I returned. My mother promised to check on it monthly. We had established clear boundaries and a new understanding. The car that connected me to my grandfather was gone, but the lessons he taught me remained. That was the real legacy, not metal and rubber, but knowledge and values passed down. Sometimes you have to lose something precious to understand what truly matters.